The origins of soccer in Mexico, from Aztec ball games to the first soccer clubs. Part 1. Soccer, or football as it is commonly known in Mexico, has become a major part of Mexican culture, with millions of fans following the sport throughout the country. But how did soccer first arrive in Mexico, and what is its history in this nation? The roots of soccer in Mexico can be traced back to the ancient Mesoamerican ball game, which was played by many indigenous cultures throughout the region. The game was called Ullamaliztli by the Aztecs and was often played in large open-air courts. The objective of the game was to hit a small rubber ball through a stone hoop using only the hips, and it was often seen as a sacred ritual with religious significance. After the Spanish conquest of Mexico in the 16th century, the game became less common and was eventually banned by the Spanish authorities due to its connection to indigenous culture. However, the sport was still played in some regions of Mexico and continued to evolve over time. The first recorded soccer game in Mexico took place in Veracruz in 1902, when a group of British sailors organized a match against a local team. This event marked the beginning of the sport's popularity in the country, and soon after, the first soccer clubs were founded, including Pachuca, Club America, and Guadalajara. Mexican soccer continued to grow in popularity throughout the 20th century, with the country hosting the 1970 and 1986 World Cups. Mexico has also had success on the international stage, with the national team winning the CONCACAF Gold Cup and reaching the quarter-finals of the World Cup on multiple occasions. Today, soccer remains an integral part of Mexican culture, with millions of fans following the sport and many talented players representing the country in international competitions. The sport has also had a significant impact on Mexican society, with the national team providing a sense of unity and pride for the people of Mexico. In conclusion, the history of soccer in Mexico is a long and rich one, with the sport evolving over centuries from ancient Mesoamerican ball games to the modern-day professional game. The game has become an important part of Mexican culture, providing a sense of identity and pride for the country and its people. The rise of Mexican soccer, the golden era of the 1950s and 60s. The 1950s and 60s are often referred to as the golden era of Mexican soccer, as it was during this time that the national team enjoyed unprecedented success and popularity. This period marked the rise of Mexican soccer as a dominant force in the region and helped establish the country as a major player on the global stage. One of the most significant events of this era was the 1950 FIFA World Cup held in Brazil, which marked Mexico's debut in the tournament. Despite being relatively unknown in the international soccer community, the Mexican team performed well and advanced to the quarter-finals before being eliminated by eventual champions Uruguay. The success of the national team at the 1950 World Cup helped ignite a wave of passion and interest in soccer among Mexicans, with many young people taking up the sport and local teams experiencing a surge in attendance and support. One of the key figures of this era was Ignacio Treyes, who coached the national team from 1958 to 1966 and oversaw some of the team's greatest triumphs. Under his leadership, Mexico won the 1959 and 1965 CONCACAF championships and secured a spot in the 1962 FIFA World Cup held in Chile, where they advanced to the quarter-finals. This era also saw the emergence of some of Mexico's most iconic soccer players, including Antonio Carvajal, who played in 5 World Cups and became a national hero, and the legendary striker Enrique Borja, who scored 31 goals for the national team and helped lead them to a second-place finish in the 1970 World Cup. The success of the national team during this time also had a significant impact on the domestic league, with many of the country's top players returning home to play for local teams and helping to raise the standard of play in the league. In addition to the national team and domestic league, this era also saw the growth of amateur and youth soccer in Mexico, with many young players being given the opportunity to train and develop their skills at local clubs and academies. Today, the golden era of Mexican soccer remains a source of inspiration and pride for fans and players alike, as it represents a time of great achievement and success for the sport in Mexico and helped pave the way for future generations of soccer players to follow. The legacy of the 1986 World Cup, Mexico's most memorable soccer moment. In the history of Mexican soccer, the 1986 World Cup stands out as the country's most memorable moment. This tournament was held in Mexico, which made it even more special for the country's soccer fans. The event was a culmination of the long and rich history of soccer in Mexico, and it left an enduring impact on the nation. Mexico was chosen to host the 1986 World Cup, beating out bids from Canada and the United States. This was the second time the country had hosted the tournament, the first being in 1970. The decision to hold the event in Mexico was a major source of pride for the country, and it brought renewed enthusiasm to the nation's soccer scene. The tournament featured 24 teams, including traditional soccer powerhouses such as Brazil, Argentina, and Germany. Mexico was in Group B, along with Paraguay, Iraq, and Belgium. The team got off to a strong start, defeating Belgium 2-1 in the opening match. They then went on to draw with Paraguay and defeat Iraq, which was enough to qualify for the knockout stage. In the round of 16, Mexico faced Bulgaria. The match was played in Estadio Azteca, which was packed with over 100,000 fans. Mexico won 2-0, with goals from Manuel Negrete and Javier Aguirre. The victory sent Mexico into the quarterfinals, where they would face Bulgaria's Balkan rivals, Romania. The quarterfinal match was one of the most dramatic and memorable moments in Mexican soccer history. Played on June 15, 1986, it was a tense and closely contested match, with both teams fighting hard for the win. Romania scored first, but Mexico equalized soon after through a goal from Hector Zelada. The match went into extra time, and in the 105th minute, Negrete scored one of the most spectacular goals in World Cup history. The ball was played to him on the edge of the box, and he hit a scissor kick volley that flew past the Romanian goalkeeper and into the net. The stadium erupted in celebration, and the goal cemented Negrete's place in Mexican soccer folklore. Mexico held on for the win, and the victory sent the country into delirium. The team had reached the semi-finals of the World Cup for the first time in its history, and the nation was awash with pride and enthusiasm. In the semi-finals, Mexico faced West Germany, the reigning European champions. The match was played in Guadalajara, and it was a hard-fought battle. Germany took the lead early on, but Mexico equalized through a goal from Javier Hernandez. However, Germany went on to win 4-1, and Mexico's dream of reaching the World Cup final was over. Despite the disappointment of the loss, Mexico had left an indelible mark on the tournament. The team finished in fourth place, which was their best ever showing in the World Cup. The country had also hosted a successful tournament, which helped to boost its profile on the global stage. The legacy of the 1986 World Cup lives on in Mexico. The tournament is still regarded as a pivotal moment in the country's soccer history, and Negrete's goal is still talked about and celebrated. The event helped to inspire a new generation of Mexican soccer players, and it helped to establish Mexico as a serious contender on the international stage. Mexican soccer come a long way since its early beginnings, and one of the key factors in its evolution has been the influence of globalization and modernization. Over the past few decades, soccer has become a truly global sport, with players and teams from all over the world competing at the highest levels. Mexico has been no exception to this trend, and in recent years the country has seen a number of changes and innovations that have helped to shape the future of Mexican soccer. One of the biggest changes that has taken place in Mexican soccer in recent years has been the emergence of a new generation of players who have been exposed to the game at an international level. Many of these players have spent time playing in Europe, South America, or other parts of the world, and they bring with them a wealth of experience and expertise that has helped to raise the level of play in Mexico. In addition to this, Mexican soccer has also been influenced by the rise of new technologies and innovations. From video analysis tools to cutting-edge training equipment, modern technologies have helped to revolutionize the way that teams and players prepare for games, allowing them to become faster, stronger, and more agile than ever before. Another key factor in the evolution of Mexican soccer has been the growth of the sport at the grassroots level. Thanks to the efforts of local clubs and organizations, soccer has become more accessible than ever before, with children and young adults from all backgrounds and walks of life able to learn the game and develop their skills. This has helped to create a vibrant and diverse soccer culture in Mexico, with fans from all over the country coming together to support their favorite teams and players. Overall, the evolution of Mexican soccer has been a fascinating and exciting process, and one that has been driven by a combination of factors, including globalization, modernization, and grassroots development. As the sport continues to grow and evolve in Mexico, it will be exciting to see what new innovations and trends emerge, and how the country's players and teams continue to shape the future of the game on a global scale.